Ladies and gentlemen, 안녕하세요. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all of you attending this student orientation today. Welcome to Korea University. It is my great pleasure to be here, and it's very nice to meet all of you. My name is Lee Jin-won, and I am a research professor at the Center for Human Rights and Gender Equity. We call it the Center for HRGE for short. I am here with you today to give you guidance and information about the school regulation governing the gender equity at KU. The president of the university in Korea has a legal obligation to prevent sexual and gender-based harassment and discriminations that happens on campus. All universities in Korea are obliged by law to carry out an annual prevention education on sexual and gender-based harassment and discriminations on campus. Today's orientation aims to inform you how to deal with sexual and gender-based harassment and also the discriminations on campus, and who you can contact when you confront such issues. Here is the order of orientation today. First of all, I'm going to tell you about the Code of Conduct Gender Policy according to the school regulation. And then we'll move on to a short video clip about the definition of sexual harassment and sexual violence. And lastly, I'm going to give you information on the Center for Gender Equity and Human Rights. KU has Codes of Conduct Gender Policy. The code principle is Korea University does not discriminate against students, faculty, or staff based on sex in any of its programs or activities, including but not limited to educational programs, employment, and admission. Korea University also complies with regulations that protect individuals from discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, as well as on the basis of gender identity. All students, faculty, and staff at Korea University should ensure that women and men have equal rights and development opportunities at the university. Here are our codes of conduct gender policy. 1. The interests of both genders must be optimally served at all levels and in all functions. This includes equal representation as well as due consideration of any specific gender interests in all working contexts. Second, nobody may suffer negative consequences due to their sex, gender identity, or gender transition. Third, each individual's dignity and integrity must be respected. Sexual and gender-based harassment and discrimination are violations of human dignity. And 4, at the university, written and spoken language should express equal treatment of women and men while maintaining precision and elegance. Why do we need gender policy? In the past few years, the Me Too movement has been taking place all around the world. It all began in the autumn of 2017 as a hashtag used on social media in order to demonstrate the widespread prevalence of sexual assault and harassment. Usually, the victims of sexual assault and harassment are demanded or even pressured to remain silent without telling their agony and their sufferings for years and years. But some of the brave silence breakers began to talk about their personal stories. They have given other victims courage to speak out. Now, the society, even the Korean society, began to be interested in this issue, and this movement has been widespread across all the country, and Korea too. Korea University supports this movement and has strong will to prevent sexual and gender-based harassment. Of course, this includes all sorts of discriminations on our campus as well. The gender policy will protect individuals from discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation as well as on the basis of gender identity. Korea University has a set of regulations to ensure protection against sexual harassment and sexual violence. And this short video will give you the definition.
Harassment refers to any action that takes place in a work, employment, or academic setting, in which a person takes advantage of his or her status to use sexual words or actions that make the addressee feel disgusted or sexual humiliation. Punishing or causing disadvantages when the addressee refuses to follow such sexual actions or requests also falls under sexual harassment. Therefore, sexual harassment is not simply sexual mocking, but a sexual tormenting or insult that reflects the relevant people's relation of power. According to the Enforcement Decree of Act on Equal Employment and Support for Work-Family Reconciliation, sexual harassment can be categorized into physical sexual harassment, such as suddenly hugging someone from behind or touching certain body parts, verbal sexual harassment, such as lewd jokes or sexual metaphors concerning one's appearance, or pressuring someone to pour a drink during office dinners, visual sexual harassment, such as displaying pornographic photographs or pictures, or purposefully exposing or touching certain body parts, and other sexual words and actions, which according to social norms cause disgust or sexual humiliation. Sexual violence is any action in which one takes advantage of the difference in strength to infringe upon another's sexual self-determination against the other's will. The concept encompasses not only rape, but also molestation and sexual harassment. From the viewpoint of sexual violence, not only physical violence or threats that demand sexual relations, but also sexual advances or attempts, psychological abuse, and verbal insults also apply as sexual violence. The law regulates only genital-oriented crimes accompanied by violence or threats, such as rape or indecent assault, as sexual violence crimes. But such sexual violence crimes, according to the law and sexual violence, must be carefully distinguished. Sexual violence must be understood to widely include both psychological and physical violence, because the kind of sexual violence that most frequently takes place within the university is not sexual violence crimes, but sexual harassment.
These regulations are based on the fundamental assumption that all students, faculty and staff should treat each other with respect. This does not mean that interpersonal relations should be purely impersonal, distant and formal. Any friendly and relaxed personal interactions and relations between men and women, or between men or between women, are a normal part of everyday lives on campus. Nevertheless, these regulations stipulate unequivocally that sexual harassment and discrimination are prohibited and will not be tolerated on campus. In addition, illegal filming and chatting of hate speech are not allowed on campus too. What shall we do if we feel sexually humiliated or feel offended with sexual charged behaviors? May someone think, should I just ignore it? Or am I being too sensitive, or am I overreacting? Even, what should I do if I get disadvantages? Or whatever they feel. But this is what you should do. Create and make a note of clearly state how you feel, demand to stop the action, and I also recommend to discuss the issue with the Center for Human Rights and Gender Equity. We are the formal institution within the university. Sexual assault can happen to anyone. Anyone initiating any kind of sexual contact with another person must seek consent and not engage in sexual contact unless consent is given. According to the school regulations, consent means informed, freely given agreement, communicated by clearly understandable words or actions to participate in each form of sexual activity. Consent cannot be inferred from silence, passivity, or lack of active resistance. Importantly, intoxication is not an excuse for failure to obtain consent, and a person who is incapacitated, whether by alcohol, drugs, or otherwise, is incapable of giving consent. Please ask for permission, and remember, no means no, and yes means yes. Respect what others say. For more information on consent and incapacitation, please contact the Center for Human Rights and Gender Equity. As the university's sexual assault policy makes clear, sexual misconduct of any kind is inconsistent with the Korea University's values and incompatible with the safe, healthy environment that the Korea University community expects. All members of this community share responsibility for creating and maintaining an environment which promotes the safety and dignity of each individual. The perpetrator, not the survivor, is responsible for any instance of sexual assault. Nothing a survivor does or does not do is an excuse for sexual assault. If a friend or person around you was a victim of sexual harassment, what would you do? From a third-party position, please support the victim psychologically, giving them personal comfort. And secondly, do not try to solve the problem yourself or by excessive actions. And then report it or seek counsel from an on-campus professional counseling center. Korea University has an on-campus professional counseling center, and this is where we are from, the Center for Human Rights and Gender Equity. And we call it HRGE for short, as I have previously mentioned. We seek to maintain an atmosphere free of sexual and gender-based harassment and discrimination, while providing active support to students, faculty, and staffs. The center is also committed to creating an atmosphere of trust and respect that is essential to a healthy work and academic environment. On college campuses, perpetrators are more likely to assault an acquaintance than a stranger. Being aware of your own safety and watching out for your friends are important steps, and you can take to reduce the risk of sexual assault if you keep this in mind. Please pay special attention to alcohol you haven't drinking before. If it's something new, please pay attention. This is what we normally do at the center. The center is committed to responding promptly and effectively when it learns of any forms of possible discrimination based on sex and sexual orientation, as well as gender identity. The center responds to reports of sexual harassment, including sexual violence, and as part of its efforts to stop the harassment and prevent its recurrence of possible sex discrimination. An individual who has questions or concerns regarding possible discrimination based on sex should contact the center. All members of KU can visit the center to request information or advice, including whether certain conduct may violate the policy, seek informal resolution, or file a formal complaint. If you're a foreign student or foreign member of the university, sometimes you may not be sure whether you have been sexually harassed or there has been a simple misunderstanding due to cultural differences. In such case too, counseling and supports are always available at the center. In case we can't give you the direct help, then we can refer you to the right person or the right place where they can help you. If you need more details or have questions about sexual and gender-based harassment and also all forms of discriminations that happens on campus, please call or visit the Center for Human Rights and Gender Equity anytime you need help. You can contact us when you simply need information about the school regulations. books or questions related with gender. And also if you need counseling, for example, and if you have concerns, need help, or and some issues that want to be dealt after an incident, please do not hesitate to contact us. Of course, if you do, the complainant, him or herself, wants to report a case, you can contact us too. And we can assure you that everything is based on confidentiality. And third parties and representatives can also report the case. This is a map to show you where we're located. There's a red box saying 15. So it's easy to remember that we are right behind the graduate school building. Okay, so, and we're close to the main building too. So anytime that you need help, please drop by. You can call us ahead, and that's easier if you do that. And this is the contact details of the center. Gives you a phone number, the email, and the website too. And we're on the first floor of Dongwon Global Leadership Hall. Email is helper@korea.ac.kr. It's easy to remember because it's helper. Thank you very much. And like I said, I would like to welcome you to Korea University. And if any help that you need from us, do not hesitate, contact us. We are here to listen. Thank you very much.